everybody doing?
Great.
Good morning. I don't need the mic, do I? You guys can hear me? Awesome.
Yeah.
We're actually, who has seen Bubble Soccer before? All 11 of them have seen it before. All right, this is awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and show the clip and give you guys an idea of what Bubble Soccer is all about. Oh my Lord!
A human record.
Oh!
I love it. I love it.
Where in the world is this idea come from?
We'll definitely get to that. Alright, awesome. So
Are we
first-
demonstrating?
We're demonstrating? No, not today. Not today, not in this space. Well, first, let me take a step back and say thank you to Dale for having me here today. I absolutely love this building.
Yeah.
One day, Dale, I'm going to write a check. This is mine. All right? I got to have this one. 1 Million Cups, I think, is a phenomenal organization. Just resources as far as being an entrepreneur. This is a phenomenal organization. So thank you again for having me here today. All right, so where did Bubble Soccer come from? All right, well, it actually started overseas in Germany in about 2011, 2012. Yeah. It was really I got fans now. And it was actually just made as a joke. Like this one guy who invented Bubble Soccer, I can't even pronounce his name. He just did it as a joke and put on this video online, and then people just started going crazy. It immediately went viral. So you know how we are as Americans, it takes us forever to get hold of something before we accept it and move forward with it. So we brought it here to Richmond in 2014. Me and my business partner actually saw it down in North Carolina. We were there for an engagement, and we were just in the town and happened to see a Bubble Soccer thing going on. We immediately, this time we hadn't engaged in any business together or anything like that, but we had always talked about doing some business together. So we immediately looked at each other and said, this is it, man. This is what we're doing. Richmond will go nuts for something like this. So we immediately threw up a website, went online, did our research. The only manufacturers that are currently available are in China. So we had to go through China to get all of our equipment, but I'm making it sound a lot simpler than it was, but I mean, really, we slapped up a website, ordered the equipment, and we got the word out. And within 2 weeks, we had our first customers coming to us. And it has been a phenomenal ride. My main reason for starting this organization, I want to get way more in depth with this, but I want to give you guys a sense of why I started this. For myself, I'm always, when I talk to people, I'm always gearing them towards their passion. You know, what is it that you really want to do in life? So I started looking at that and realized, you know, hey, Bubble Soccer would be something amazing, it's fun, it's cool, but this will give me a platform. I may not be here at 1 Million Cups if I had never started Bubble Soccer. I don't know if they'll want to hang out with me if I wasn't as cool as being Bubble Soccer. But it gave me a platform to be able to do some other things. So I own 2 other businesses besides this as well. But I knew it was an arena where it would catch on quick, there'd be a lot of interest in it, and I'd be able to get my name out within the city. So with Bubble Soccer, we mainly focus on nonprofit organizations. So it's a great fundraising activity. Churches, we had UVA there doing some cancer research, and one of their groups up there brought us in. They pay our fee, but then they charge you $5 for 5 minutes in the bubble, and I think they ended up coming out a couple $1,000 over after they booked us for that session. So nonprofits is a great way to help get the word out. Universities, VCU, Lynchburg College, like these schools have been going crazy for this. Team building activities. Capital One has been one of our biggest supporters. They book us just about every month. You know, they have an insane number of people working at that organization. So just about each month they're coming in and booking us at the team building activity. So it's something outside the box to do. You know, a lot of people for team building activities, you know, bowling or, just the same mundane activities. So something like this is an activity that people can bond over, and they'll be talking about this for months to come. Bosses love it because they look like rock stars and employees when they bring something like this in. And then private party. So something as small as, one of our very first customers called us, and she said, "Hey, my husband's turning 32. I want to throw him a bubble soccer party." I said, "Absolutely." She said, "Can you do it in my backyard?" I said, "No problem." So we can do something as small as in someone's backyard to a huge university or space like that. But really with bubble soccer, the thing that's been most exciting, it's a lot different than any other traditional business we started. Me having two other companies, this business has jaded me because, all the oohs and ahs and screams that you guys have seen in that video, had people coming up the second we started talking about this and saying, "Hey, I got to get my daughter involved in this." It's not that easy when you're selling consulting services or you're a photographer or a public speaker and you're trying to get people to book you. This has been very simple as far as bringing in a customer base. It doesn't happen often with the business, so we're pushing this thing really hard to see what else it is that we can do. We're also adding new sports to it as we move through. We just completed our first year of business, so we're very excited about that. That's a big piece, is just getting past that 12 months in business and keeping the lights on. But we are looking at some other sports, a lot of them from Germany. Just off-the-wall sports that you would never have heard of, but just very engaging. For us, we knew the market here. When I first moved to Richmond about 9-10 years ago, I got involved in River City over at scores, kickball, dodgeball, football, so. I started thinking, I was like, if grown men in their 30s are willing to spend $60 a season to come out here and play a sport that we played when we were 4 or 5 years old, they'll definitely pay for bubble soccer. But we want to ensure that it stays fresh. We're not sure how long this growth and passion for bubble soccer will last in the United States. So we are looking at some other things to kind of keep it fresh. One thing I am looking at, don't tell anybody, all right? We're going to have this part out. Looking at the hoverboards are like huge right now. And I have a buddy of mine who gets them directly from the manufacturer. But I'm always looking at different ways to kind of grow this. And he doesn't have the channel he needs to either rent them out or sell them directly. So I'm going to talk with him right now and see if that's something we can potentially add to the bubble soccer package so people can rent board. So you have one group over here doing bubble soccer and all the other groups waiting over here with the boards, that sort of thing. We've looked around since we came into business. It was probably, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 bubble soccer companies in all of the United States. And last time we checked, there were probably over 300 or 400 in the United States right now.
Just in 12 months?
Just in 12 months. It is not taking any time for people to start on this. So one of the biggest things we're looking at is always how can we stay a step ahead of everybody else. So one thing that we do offer is videography and photography services for our events. So not only are you having this phenomenal event that most of your friends have never probably seen and you want to showcase, we can have a professional photographer come in, take those shots, and then videography can also be done as well. We've also looked at some awesome partnerships with local businesses here in Richmond. So the biggest partnership that we started out with was the Richmond Bubble Soccer. So all last season they had us come in. You guys know when they do games in between the innings and things like that, so they feature bubble soccer all season long. And that was probably the first moment for me as an entrepreneur where I just freaked out. To see those bubble suits in the middle of the field with 6,000 fans out there, and they put our logo up on the scoreboard and made the announcement, and I was just like, wow, this is getting real. So Richmond Blinds Girls has been a great partnership for us. But we're always looking for nonprofit organizations to team up with. One of the biggest things for me as an entrepreneur is too many people are trying to do things on their own. There's no reason for organizations not to come together and work together. I find out that there's somebody else who owns a bubble soccer business. I want to be the first to sit down with them, buy them lunch, hey, let's talk. There's one organization in North Virginia, we'll share events with them. So we have an extremely large event. Typically the largest event we've done to date has been up to 150 people. If we get some extreme event where it's like 400 or 500 individuals that want to play, I need another company to come in and help me with that. So sat down and discussed that with several other organizations. But I kind of want to get, for this, I kind of want to do a little bit more Q&A, because I'm always looking for fresh ideas, new partnerships, different ways that we can showcase this business. We've gotten a lot of good press coming out. Richmond Business was the first big piece of press that we got. I think it really took off after that. From there, we had Richmond Magazine on local news stations, things like that. So, once things kind of start rolling, it really starts to snowball. So, let me jump into a little Q&A. Anybody have any questions about the sport or the business?
Several.
Yeah.
Actually, my first is your business model simply renting out the equipment so that people can have a one-off event, or are you envisioning leagues? Are you envisioning what's your business model?
Yeah, great question. So there was actually another bubble soccer business that started the exact same time in Richmond as we did. Like literally within 2 weeks time frame.
You do not have the geographic exclusivity.
Well, now we do.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when we started, we were focused primarily just on private events. Like, hey, we want to do birthday parties, churches, things like that. This other company went the route of they want to do leagues strictly. They don't want to do any private events. So the way they structure their business platform, they were kind of competing with like a River City Score type of business. We had no interest in going against a giant like that to start out with. So they actually reached out to us. It was probably 4 or 5 months ago. They reached out to us and said, "Hey, you guys have a market share. We're pulling up shop." They actually offered us their equipment for pennies on the dollar. So for us, we steered away from that. But after our first year of business, now we're looking into some of that. So Richmond Volleyball Club is a new partnership that we just orchestrated, and they are very interested in doing a league with us as well. But it's something we want to do in combination. We can have a league like a Wednesday, one of our slowest days of the week. So we're running a league there on Wednesdays, and we'll book all weekend for private events. That's like the perfect platform for us.
My second question, well, you answered my second was exclusivity. My third question relates to, you said a moment ago that this gives you a platform. For what? What is it you want to tell us?
I am, man, I love this guy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I don't know if that's good.
My big thing is I love speaking and teaching. I just love it. Like I love starting businesses. Like I label myself a serial entrepreneur. With my first 3 companies, I don't see this ever being the end. In my lifetime, I plan on owning somewhere between 20 to 30 companies at some point. So for me, this has given me the platform to be able to speak and expose my other brands as well. We just launched a new web series called Mr. Preneur TV. Shane Petrocruso's here. He's actually one of the cast members for that. He owns his own photography studio. And with that, it's a show where we talk about business, but with an entertainment value. Short of like a Shark Tank or the show The Profit, there's not really a whole lot of content online and on TV that teach you business and do it in an entertaining way. So for us, that's a big thing. So speaking engagements, teaching, consulting, like that sort of thing is what really drives me. That's another piece of the business we've launched here, is how we've kind of gotten into consulting and starting up bubble soccer companies for other brands. As long as they're not within our service area, we supply the equipment for them. So Lynchburg Parks and Rec has actually placed 2 orders with us already. Which I love deals like that. We went through probably 7 or 8 manufacturers in China before we actually found the one that worked for us. And I learned real quick, people will pay you for that information. So we were giving it away for free at first. Like we would just call them up, like, hey, just want to pick your brain, like where do you get your stuff at, like how much are you charging for bubble soccer events, blah, blah, blah. All right, thanks. After a couple of months, we're like, you know what, there are a lot of bubble soccer companies popping up. Like, why are we giving this information away for free? So we found ways that we can structure those deals where we don't necessarily have to go into a franchise quite yet. That is a long-term goal for us. But it enables us another stream of income through this business.
Sam?
Yes, ma'am.
What about becoming one of those manufacturers? You said it's mainly in China, so is that maybe a stream of business that you could be looking for in the future?
We're digging into that. I see it's going to be a huge market. When you start seeing bubble soccer started popping up in all kinds of places. I think think Jimmy Fallon was one of the first like
Yeah.
big shows where it was seen. There was a coach, a soccer coach, I can't remember at what university, but he surprised his girls soccer team one day. They came to practice and all these bubble suits were out there, and he was like, "This is our practice today." So when you start seeing it pop up in areas like this, like the Good Morning America had the suits on before, so it's getting a lot of PR. So for us, absolutely. Last time I looked, which was probably about a month ago, there still is no manufacturer here in the United States. So for us, it's a couple things. The quality of the bubble suits that we're providing. So we spend more money than our competitors do on our bubble suits. You can go the cheaper route. A, they don't last that long, but B, there's also probability for injury when people are using those suits. So we'll spend the extra money to get the best quality brand that we can. So in order to do that, we need to ensure that if we did something like that here locally, that someone here will be able to support that type of process. But it is very expensive. With all of my businesses, I've bootstrapped everything. We haven't looked for funding, haven't looked for venture capitalists, any of that stuff. We've slowly, organically grown the business. So that is something that potentially is something we will probably need money for. But it is something that's hard.
The thing, and second part of my question, it's so interesting. It's just not the clear bubble either. You can have parties for little children and wear little hats for like small bubble suits with maybe a Hello Kitty or a Boo Boo Kitty kind of theme.
Yeah.
Where you just don't have it clear, or with the holiday harvest, maybe pumpkins, and you can build on different themes like that.
Oh yeah, there are a ton of different things. We looked at doing blackout bubble soccer parties. Excuse me. So we're in talks with one organization where we'll actually put like the glow sticks within the bubbles.
Wow.
Shut the lights off. And everybody goes crazy.
I love
Yeah, with the kids, that's one thing I didn't mention. They do make the bubble soccer equipment for smaller children. Typically, the equipment that we have starts at around age 6 or 7 or so. Prior to that, they were way too small. Like they can get in it, somebody just has to roll. Like they're just too small. Like they just topple over. Like
Wheels wobble and they fall.
that's it. That's it. So we have explored the idea of going ahead and purchase the equipment for the smaller children, but the adult market has just been growing so rapidly that every time we go to put in a new order for equipment, we have that debate. Like we'd be the only ones in the area with the ones for the children, but for the age range that the adult size bubbles work with, we have a lot more that we can do with those suits. So
Variety.
we're exploring that as well.
Thank you.
To piggyback on Tanya's question too, is in addition to manufacturing or distribute, it sounds like there's room for a distributor. Distributors have a lot of say in the manufacturing. So because of the fact that you have on-the-ground experience with these bubbles, I would think that ease of cleanliness is going to be a big issue for you.
Absolutely.
Comfort for the user. These are all things that you only know from doing and hearing feedback from the people who are actually playing the games. So I imagine that there's a lot of room for maybe a distributor that could influence the manufacturing as well.
Yeah, one of the biggest things definitely. One of the biggest things I've looked at is, I've discussed with my business partner a lot, because we have large organizations like the University of Richmond that want to do some things with us. And my big thing traditionally, from what I'm seeing with everybody else with bubble soccer business, no one's doing contracts. Like, I want to sign Capital One to a year deal where every time you guys need an event, like we'll give you X amount of events throughout the year. You got us a check for $10,000, you can go for the year. So that when people are evaluating our business, they see the value of what it is that we're bringing. Because it's very we can get a call a day and somebody wants to do a bubble soccer event in 2 days. But generally our customers give us about 72 hours. But I think we're starting to realize now that the experience that we have, it's crazy to say we're one of the oldest running bubble soccer companies on the East Coast. We're just 12 months old. It's weird. You rarely hear that in business, but I think our experience is starting to outweigh some of the things we've been looking at past.
Sam, you talked about some of the growth ideas. So could you kind of flush that out a little bit more? Because it sounds like to me that there's a pretty low barrier to entry if these businesses are popping up all over, and there's obviously a manufacturer that's incentivizing them because they want to get their product out,
Absolutely.
right? So as that's happening, it almost sounds like geographic expansion could be difficult because there's little ways for you to differentiate you know, if you go to Virginia Beach or you go to Charlottesville or Raleigh, Durham, how is Richmond Bubble Soccer better than, you know, Raleigh, Durham Bubble Soccer?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, to me, that's one method of growing, but then you also talk about the opportunity to be the Richmond private events and entertainment spot, right?
Mhm.
You're the guys that do that. And so then the competition looks a little bit different, and you need to broaden out. Bubble Soccer is one of many product lines and experiences you deliver to folks. So can you talk a little bit about how you plan on growing on this?
Yeah, so with, and one thing I want to mention, because that kind of sparked a thought in my head, is you guys, Nate came here and spoke one time for Party RBA. So we're actually one of the first companies that he had featured on the site. So models like that absolutely work for us as far as expansion goes. For me, I look at this and I'm way more of a big picture thinker. Like, I know I'm going to be on the cover of Time magazine one day. Like, there's no doubt. My business partner is more like, well, you know, like, let's do this, let's see if it kind of works out. He's way more practical than I am. I'm a big trigger. But I see us being the face of bubble soccer across the United States. Like, there's no one who's claimed that spot yet. And as you see, like, a Jimmy Fallon and Good Morning America and companies like this giving it spotlight, Under Armour, Adidas, Nike, like, one of these organizations is going to want to attach themselves to a business that's doing this. So we have to make sure that we're cut above the rest. So there are some very slight things as far as what we offer that's different from our competitors. Because a lot of people think that starting out in something like this, that we bought to a franchise. Like, no, you didn't. It's just sport. Like, you know, if you start a kickball league, you didn't franchise from whoever made the rubber for that ball. You know, this is a separate entity. There are tons of different manufacturers. I probably get 5 emails a day from other manufacturers in China. So for us, I'm more focused on the brand. Because you look at, all right, who are my Android people in the room? I'm going to hate on you for a second. Oh man, I thought I liked you. You look at Android, Doug, you Android guy too?
Yeah.
You got a MacBook in your lap right now, man.
There are lots of Android fans, but they like your partner, they still don't understand.
There you go. There you go.
But there are lots of them.
So for me, I kind of look at
Be
it as,
gentle with us.
I'll be gentle. I've been obsessed with, Steve Jobs is probably one of the only business figures that I've like been obsessed with. Like, the mind that he had as a business owner, the things he was willing to do for his brand, like, just astonishing. So I look at Apple products and I look at Android products. And that's what I want to do for each and every one of my brands. I want people to say, because recently, I'll tell you a little struggle we've had here recently. Another company just popped up. I'm not going to say their name. I think they're up in the DC, Maryland area. And U of R had reached out to us and said, hey, this fraternity wants to do this event. What are you guys doing? Well, there's this national site that you go onto. It's like a global bubble soccer community. And you can go on and find any bubble soccer company in the United States. That's how I keep track of things. And so there's this guy who started this business up in North Virginia. And now he's bidding for jobs here. So people are going to this site and saying, hey, we want to do a bubble soccer event. Who can give us the best price type thing? So we going back and forth on our pricing back. Originally when we started out, I think I was renting the bubbles out for about $120 an hour, which, I mean, that's giving it away. Like, I may have been making like $20 an event at that point. Now our lowest price point per hour is $225. It goes up to about $325 an hour. So anyway, he's been coming here and he ended up bidding us out for this job. And he did it at some extreme price point. I could not understand how this guy's making a buck on it. And then my business partner sat down and I said, man, we're not changing our price one bit. Not at all. Because when I look at an Apple product versus I can go to the store and get an Android product for dirt cheap. I hate them. But when you look at, all right, let's look at the laptops, all right, because I've been a big Windows laptop guy for the longest time. The only reason I was hating on people who had MacBooks because I couldn't afford it then. Want that, just can't get it. So you can go get a brand new Windows laptop with Windows 10 now on it for $300-400. MacBook starting out, I mean, you're in the neighborhood of $900-1,000 for starting out. But what Apple has done is they've created a brand where that's a luxury item. Like when you're walking into a coffee shop and you see somebody with a MacBook on that table, you're like, okay.
Right.
they got their stuff together.
Sets
Right?
it off.
Whether they do or not, that's just the perception you have of that brand. And I want people to think the same thing about Bubble Soccer. I'm not dropping my price another dime. In fact, we're probably about to raise the price up another level. Because when people look at that, a lot of things I do with consulting work, I have people that are willing to do work for as low as, let's take graphic designers. They'll do a logo for $50. And then I have guys who are only, the lowest I can pay them is $300. Who do you think has a better product? The guy that's charging more. That's not necessarily to say that everybody who's charging more, they're always the best brand, but people value that and they see that. You know, we've saturated this market up to this point. We've got a lot more work to do, but I think people see the value that we bring. Customer service is a huge thing for me. When our guys show up to work, it's a party for everybody. I mean, it's not like we're not selling you life insurance. Like, you call a Bubble Soccer company, like everybody's pumped up when they see all those bubble suits in the car. So our staff have fun. You know, hey, there's beer there, they're 21, I tell them, hey, they offer it to you, man, have fun. We're at events and people that pay for it, like, hey, this guy's sitting out, you want to jump in the suit and play? Yeah, I want to play. Jump in the suit, have a good time. But it's an experience when people have an event with us. It's not, hey, here's a bubble suit, go do your thing. We organize games, we ref, you know, we use our judgment based on what's going on with the event. So we can assess something to look at and say, okay, these kids are more concerned with knocking the crap out of each other than they are soccer ball. So let's switch to something else. You know, we'll do human rugby ball where you go face to face. And one person's over here, one person's over here. When I blow the whistle, you guys go head to head, and whoever stays on their feet the longest wins. We'll do sharks and minnows. Everybody start over here, you got to get past the goal line without getting knocked down. There are tons of different things that we can do with that. So I think as far as the brand and the expansion, customer service will yield itself forward.
Couple things. One, I just let you know that I'm a little bit of a worrier. So something you just said, I was actually going to ask, and I'm going to still ask you another question, but you mentioned that you let your folks when they're at an event partake in the drinks or whatever. Just be careful with that. You need to access to have some conversations.
They get one.
Yeah.
That's all they get.
Just liabilities. But then the other thing I wanted to mention to you is I know that you have ties with Redskins here locally, that organization. And you also mentioned colleges. And I'm thinking, gosh, when we talk about distribution or manufacturing, and I'm thinking, that to me sounds like it would be amazing if you could get, and I know it's ridiculous, the idea of getting college licensing or NFL licensing, but that would make so much sense. I mean, I can imagine that demographic really embracing bubble soccer. And when you do things like hit the Patriots against the Steelers or something.
Yeah. But no, you're definitely not off because we actually had, I think it was UR. They emailed us a couple weeks ago, someone from UR. And they want us to do halftime shows for their entire basketball season this year. So things like that, I've been dug in and out a lot. Like that's why I love events like this. Like we can throw stuff out that you may not follow. But yeah, that definitely is a direction.
I think
I want to.
I know I was thinking about the same area. I know Snapple, the soft drink. When it was coming out, they were giving it free. You know, at VCU, they would come and park their car there, have everybody know a bottle to drink.
Yep.
And within a year, they cut it off and start paying for it. I was thinking maybe if you can see the high schools in their football game, for instance, you know, volunteer with our two of them for demonstration.
Oh, yeah.
At halftime, you know. So if you can see all the high schools and do that, when the basketball season comes in, if you can do the same thing, you know, just for 20 minutes, you know, demonstration.
Yeah.
You know, and from there, a lot of people get knowing about it, will fall in love, and then they will come and.
We do a ton of that stuff. That's actually my main focus in the business. Primarily, I focus on. It's beautiful when you have a business partner. It's like a beautiful marriage. Like the stuff I hate doing, he loves it. The stuff I love doing, he hates it. Like this stuff doesn't excite me. That's why I see it's empty. But that's one of the things that I focus on is PR, marketing, and relationships with other organizations. Anytime like I can. Of course, we have a lot of people reaching out saying, "Hey, we can do this for free." And like if it's nonprofit stuff, like I'll definitely do things like that. But like the Flying Squirrels, like I didn't get paid a dime for that. It was all promotions. But we'll do some things like Richmond Bubble Club last month. We just let them know, hey, we'll come through for an hour and a half. We'll do a free session. So yeah, probably thousands of people as far as foot traffic goes coming in and out their building on a daily basis. So Yeah, well, we love being social media.
That video, you don't need to be in person. That video.
The video sells it.
As probably the last question, because we're.
Oh, we have Malik had a question over here.
The standard question we always ask, if you have three things you could wish us to help you with, what would be these three things? What is your ask, what we can do for you?
Yeah. the funny, anytime somebody has a business on that, I chuckle a little bit. Like I get the question. Customers are the answer for any business owner. Any problem I have can be resolved with more customers.
And pricing.
And price, there you go. But on a serious note, I really do want to explore the manufacturing side of things. So if there's anybody who have a connection with someone who's done manufacturing in the United States, if they can make a connection for me, that would be fantastic. We're always looking for a platform to kind of broadcast this. So you know, anybody in marketing, radio, TV, that sort of thing, love to put something together with that. And honestly, like a big part of what I do is I just like to serve people. So if there's a nonprofit that you know that could use something like this, you know, the coolest thing that I've probably done so far with Bubble Soccer is we went to Boys and Girls Club, and these kids in the inner city would never get to do something that's off the wall. So it's like never in a million years. So just to go in there and do something like that for an organization where children will never get this experience again, I mean that's life changing for me. My background is in the mental health field. I worked as a counselor for 10 years, so I still have a passion for working with kids and people in the inner city. But you know, a big thing for me is always helping out wherever we can. So if you guys know any areas where we could utilize our service and we can help them out, I'm really happy to do so.
Wonderful, thank you.
Can I just have this?
Okay, what's my time?
Okay, you got like 2 more questions and real quick answers.
All right, I'm gonna just make the questions real quick then for you. Very inspired by what you do. First of all, Mr. Preneur, and secondly, man, I wrote some things down. Just checking with organizations that specifically offer team building skills. There's like a lot of different training, leadership development training companies.
Yep.
I think this would fit in perfectly with what they're doing. The schools meeting with leadership within the educational system, as in you talked about contracts, so getting contracts with those particular districts and counties. I thought about government as well, because governments, they have they need life sometimes, so they would really value something like this, getting out the office and doing some other team building exercises. And then with each event that you do, I thought about how the passion and energy of food trucks when they go out to market their food, and because I'm assuming that this takes a lot of energy. So to be able to partnership with the food truck or being able to make those partnerships, I think would be vital, because you'd be helping both. Both would be beneficial. So.
Absolutely. No, I kind of dug into the government contracts for one of my businesses, but then I started thinking about it for Bubble Soccer just the other day, so that's something.
Awesome.
Malik?
Yeah, please, thanks for waiting.
I love this business ideas. I think it's very inspiring, interesting. Liability insurance.
So there are 4, when we started, there were 4 insurance companies in all the United States that would insure Bubble Soccer. Now that number's grown a little bit. We have a $1 million insurance policy. Each participant has to sign a waiver before they even touch the bubble suit. So up to this point, just let everybody know it's extremely safe sport. You're way more likely to be injured in a real game of soccer than you are in bubble soccer. I mean, you're literally protected if you're in a bubble suit. The bubble is generally going to make contact with the ground before your legs or anything will. But up to this point, we haven't had any issues with that. Waivers are kind of a thing where, you know, for the most part, that kind of just scares the customer that if something happens, they think, oh, why sign this waiver? That's what the $1 million insurance policy is. But there are some contracts that we're looking, especially with U of R, they require a $2 million contract as far as our $2 million insurance policy. Just to put on their campus and put on any event, so we may be buying insurance. That's it? All right. Come ahead.